Alright, let's jump right into this explainer and objectively deconstruct what is, quite literally, a wildly unhinged, explicit, and completely disjointed digital artifact. Today, we're going to clinically map out a bizarre narrative found in a piece of source text that reads way less like a traditional story and more like a fever dream of internet culture. We are going to look at the entire story, detailing all the characters, the erratic plot, and the surprisingly rigid timeline that somehow holds all this chaos together. It's a fascinating look at how digital shock humor is constructed, so let's dive right in.
Because the source material jumps violently between completely unrelated settings, this roadmap will serve as our necessary tether to reality. We'll hit 1. The 5 superheroes. 2. The Queen's Deadly Quiz. 3. The Mohenjo-Daro campaign. 4. Defeating Cruella. And 5. Anatomy of a Troll script.
Section 1. The 5 superheroes.
Right out of the gate, the text aggressively warns us not to mess with these 5 distinct superhero archetypes as they embark on their journey. The source literally opens with a block of capital letters screaming at us about who these people are. We've got Henry, described simply as a man who believes in resolution. Then there's Ragatha, a greedy lady in yellow who later randomly claims to be a queen. William, a healer who aggressively yells at darkness to be gone. Anna, the courageous warrior. And finally Ellie. Ellie is an absolute wildcard who just enters scenes throwing buckets of grenades, and is actually noted for having sacrificed herself twice already, complete with a video game-style reboot card. It's a hyper-aggressive, bizarre introduction to our core cast.
Now, despite the absolute nonsense happening on the page, the author actively anchors us with strict chronological dates. We move precisely from December 11, 2001 to September 8, 2003. This provides a pseudo-logical spine to a completely illogical plot. By giving us exact days, months, and years, the script tries to force a sense of epic scale and continuity onto a narrative that otherwise changes its settings and rules from paragraph to paragraph.
Section 2. The Queen's Deadly Quiz. On December 11, 2001, our 5 heroes just burst into a palace, demand gold, and throw grenades. In response, a queen drops her staff, asks what on turgidity is this, and throws them into her personal quizzing room. This kicks off the deranged logic of a test they're forced to take alongside a group of totally anonymous strangers, and the consequences? Fatal. If you get a question wrong, a guard immediately shoots you in the head. The questions themselves are completely absurd. Things like how to check if a watermelon is good or how to substitute milk for cereal. The winning solutions are just as unhinged. For instance, Ellie wins the ultimate prize, the ball of knowledge, by correctly answering that if you don't have sugar for your coffee, the absolute best substitute is a Husqvarna gas-powered chainsaw.
A really crucial point here is the jarring interruption that happens right in the middle of this deadly quiz. Out of nowhere, the characters Chell and Wheatley from the critically acclaimed video game Portal 2 just wander onto the stage. Wheatley breaks the fourth wall and literal glass, screaming, "I am not a moron," before they just leave. This introduces the script's heavy reliance on stealing established intellectual property to force a punchline.
Section 3. The Mohenjo-Daro campaign.
Suddenly, we jump to January 2002. The heroes receive an actual Morse code telegram from the army. Once translated, it requests them to invade Mohenjo-Daro, which is an actual ancient archaeological site in the Indus Valley, all in exchange for the golden ball of flight. Out of nowhere, the text starts giving us exact latitude and longitude coordinates for enemy outposts. The heroes arrive, sprout wings, and execute a winged charge, literally flying through the air while simultaneously dropping grenades and firing bullets at an enemy whose identity is never even explained.
Now, what's really interesting about this battle is the stark contrast in the writing styles. On one hand, you have the army officer delivering this grandiose, overly dramatic narration, yelling that they charged during the masculine urge to perish in a last stand. But then, right next to it, the actual dialogue of the combatants completely degrades into heavy internet slang and intense profanity, yelling about red spies and screaming in all caps. This absolute whiplash between epic military fiction and profane gamer chat is a constant feature of the text.
Section 4. Defeating Cruella.
The year is now 2003. Disney's Cruella de Vil has inexplicably risen to global power and destroyed the Rotterdam. To stop her, our 5 heroes spend a month building a 3-tower dummy facility specifically designed to bounce Cruella's own missiles right back at her. And it works flawlessly. The redirected missiles hit Cruella, the heroes celebrate with beer, and they receive their final prize, the Golden Ball of Heroism. And just to add one final layer of cinematic nonsense, the text proudly claims this entire sequence was directed by Michael Bay and George Clooney.
But wait, how did they even get the skills to build this facility and defeat Cruella? Well, before this climax, back in June 2002, the heroes actually had to beat up 100 people in exactly 8 hours. They did this to earn a martial arts ball from a highly offensive stereotype of a teacher named Mr. Zong. This character flies into the scene, shouts geopolitical commentary regarding Taiwan, spouts extreme racial slurs, and then inexplicably recites what appears to be a direct copy-paste of the Wikipedia definition for Kung Fu, complete with pronunciation guides. It's a wildly jarring segment that exists purely to be as offensive and random as possible before they face Cruella.
Section 5. Anatomy of a troll script.
This whole thing is essentially a digital collage. The author relies heavily on recognizable pop culture and meme references to drive the absurdity, rather than generating any original ideas. We already saw Portal 2. During the quiz, a guard literally quotes Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up right before shooting a contestant. Ragatha screams about Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, and there's a massive copyright-infringing post-credits scene featuring Lumiere from Disney's Beauty and the Beast. It's just a patchwork of recognizable internet memes and stolen media smashed together.
Impartially speaking, we must note that the script uses shock humor as its primary structural tool. It relies on extreme profanity, deeply offensive racial slurs, and sudden, disjointed violence. This is most evident in that bizarre post-credit scene I just mentioned. The heroes sit down for dinner, and a French candle sings the entirety of Be Our Guest. But immediately after the song ends, the text devolves entirely, abruptly ending the script by spamming a highly offensive racial slur dozens of times in a row. It is the absolute hallmark of internet troll writing, abandoning any pretense of a story simply to provoke the maximum amount of shock and offense from the reader.
So, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. When we look at a document like this, a Frankenstein's monster of stolen intellectual property, rigid timelines, and highly offensive shock value, what does it actually reveal about the evolution of web-native humor? It really forces us to consider the fascinating, if deeply disturbing, ways internet subcultures fragment, recombine media, and use offense as a metric for entertainment. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive, and keep questioning the media you encounter out there.